Kumar Mangalam, the big problem from the Congress's perspective is that you're up against this towering personality. You have no one to take him on. The only person you have is Rahul Gandhi, who's 1/4 the political stature of Prime Minister Modi. It just seems to be a contest where whenever these two go head to head, the answer will be very clearly in favor of the Prime Minister.
You sound like a soothsayer, Rahul. Whenever, as in at any point in the future, I certainly can't look that far out in the future and make those predictions. You made the point early on, and I made this point on your show yesterday as well, that the survey was taken at a point when Ram Mandir hysteria was at its highest level. So I'm not sure these numbers bear out, but I will say that I think as an opposition, we haven't really given the voters yet a clear set of promises, a clear set of things that we would want them to come out and vote for us on. So there are serious problems in the economy. There are serious issues with our democracy today. There are serious issues in terms of income inequality, unemployment that we've been talking about ad nauseum, but we haven't said what we are going to do different. And if you look at the reasons, your survey says that people are voting for Mr. Modi, whether that be Ram Mandir or the more intangible India status abroad, which doesn't really translate anywhere in terms of tangibles, whether that be FDI, whether that be bilateral agreement signed with someone, or whether that even be relationships with our neighbors that have gotten worse over the last decade or so, then all I have to say is that we have to, as an opposition, focus the voter on tangibles that they should be looking for from the central government.
You say that, Mohan Kumar Mangalam, you make a good point by saying you got, but sir, you make a point that you want to focus on the tangibles, yet what does your leadership do? They now question whether Mr. Modi is genuinely an OBC or not. The point is, you draw Mr. Modi, the individual, constantly into the political battle. You say you want to focus on tangibles. Has Mr. Modi achieved A, B, C as he claims or not? But in the field, when you go out there, your own leader, Rahul Gandhi, has raised a question now over whether Mr. Modi is a genuine OBC or not. So you draw him into your contest.
I think the reason why Mr. Gandhi talked about whether Mr. Modi is genuinely an OBC or not is because of the fact that Mr. Modi in Parliament referred to one of the major asks of our opposition combine, which is that there should be a caste census survey. And he said that, why are you saying that OBCs have been ignored? The number one OBC is me, which sort of makes light of the entire argument. And what Mr. Gandhi said was point out to the fact that he comes from a privileged background. And it's only later in life that his particular community was put into the backward class. So there's nothing wrong with that, but to make sure that that's communicated to the electorate. We should,
well, all I will say, with due regard, sir, all I will say, a number of OBC communities have been brought into the Mandal report at different times. So to try and nitpick, I think, at least, is denying the very basis on which these kind of categorizations are made. But that's another debate, Rahul.
Now, Shazia Ilmi, the Ram Mandir coming in as number one in terms of Prime Minister Modi's legacy. But interestingly, since it happened, he hasn't spoken so much about it. He's rather focusing on development. Is the BJP trying here to say, okay, we've charged up our base, we don't need to enthuse the base anymore, they're already on our side, we need to talk about a Viksit Bharat. So he's doing what he did in 2012-13, bring the focus on his development efforts so that he can appeal to the fence-sitter, the neutral voter, the non-Hindutva BJP voter, and try and bring him on board in his quest for Abki Baar 400 Par.
So firstly, they're both not mutually exclusive of each other. If you see our manifesto, Ram Temple has always been there. If you see our manifesto and what we believe in terms of policies and the implementation and Prime Minister's guarantee, Modi ki guarantee, and what that means in terms of delivery, in terms of DBTs, transfers, Gyan, whether it's a Garib or Annadata or Nari Shakti or the youth. It's all there. So whichever game you want to play, whether it's a clay court or astroturf, whichever pitch you want to play, BJP is going to beat all others, because when it comes to development, you're way ahead. You've seen a track record. You've seen how we have achieved phenomenal milestones in terms of Jan Dhan Yojana. Look at the whole Jam Trinity. Look at what it means to an Indian. And mostly it is, and Prime Minister said it. He said two things yesterday, and I was listening to him carefully. He was very angry on the issue of corruption. And he said, while he said it, he says, people who have already been convicted. You are doing their Mahima Mandan, you're glorifying them. And what do you want to do with this? And he said something very interesting which stuck out. And he says, this is what you want to teach the next generation? अगली पीढ़ी को क्या बताना चाहते हैं? So look at Prime Minister's mind.
You know, Shazia Ilmi, every time now a BJP politician weighs in on corruption, I'm sorry, as a citizen both of Maharashtra and India, I have to say that a Prime Minister who says 70,000 crore ka irrigation ghotala hua hai, NCP is corrupt, and a week later embraces Ajit Pawar, cannot talk now about corruption with the same authority as he once did. Let's be very clear. Corruption is extremely selective.
That has been done.
Her point is, if you
it's not.
No, Mohan, let her respond.
No, it's
Mohan,
not,
let her
Rajdeep.
please respond.
No, it's not. I was saying something else. No, Rajdeep, I was saying something else. I will come to that. He also said, he says that you know what the poor goes through. I have been there. So I think it's connect with the poor, the extreme poverty, that's biggest. I think that's the biggest achievement. 25 crore Indians being lifted out of multi-dimensional poverty, owing to whether it's 80 crore of rations being given to them, Jan Dhan Yojana, Aadhaar, telephony, direct transfers, Samman Nidhi, Swi Nidhi, all of those, Vishwakarma Yojana, I can go on and on.
So now,
and as for corruption, let me remind you, Rajdeep, and tell you very
at this
categorically.
moment,
First time,
the Prime Minister,
I want to finish.
yes.
10 seconds, no, Rahul.
Okay, go on.
Rahul, no. As the Prime Minister of this country, for the first time, we have seen a cabinet totally untainted by any corruption, any scam. First time in the history of India. Prime Minister, Prime Minister's cabinet. Do you remember UPA 2 and UPA 1 and all others?
No, so you're telling me, you're telling me that as long as, ma'am, just a minute, you're telling me as long as there are no corruption scandals which convict any of your cabinet ministers, all is well, but you can have allies across, just a minute, ma'am, you can have allies across the state who are tainted by corruption, and then it becomes a washing machine. I mean, you cannot have washing machine politics on one side and also talk about corruption on the other. I'm sorry.
Rajdeep, that has been done to death. Rajdeep,
it's true.
No, I will talk about it because this is happening for
true.
the first time in the history of this
country. Have a conversation with her.
In the cabinet, Prime Minister as the leader of the cabinet at the center has been not one single scam.
Okay.